Hey, this is Dr. Wood, and welcome back to The Bridge to Mastery, this mini-series that we're doing as we move from consistency to capability, from just actions to intentionally doing what we need to do to be successful. I'm glad that you're here. You have shown up for over 100 days, and you've proven, right? This is data that you are self-confident, that you are consistent. And we've been talking about self-efficacy. We'll talk more about that here in just a minute, but I'm glad that you are here for day number 103. We're going to get started. Today we're talking about the fact that comfort doesn't mean capability. Yeah. We often think that when somebody is capable, they're comfortable. That's not the case. And we'll talk about how that helps to expand us, helps to grow us as we move through this mini-series. Let's go ahead. I'll see you on the walk. All right, and we are back. So we've been talking about self-efficacy. And our working definition, again, remember, is self-efficacy is the belief that through our actions, decisions, and consistency, that we can make definitive changes in our life, in our circumstance, and in our success. So that's our working definition. And today we're going to talk about how we often think in terms of capability and comfort. And this is important because remember, we are using the data. And I guess let me add that word into the definition of self-efficacy. It is data-based. It is driven, it is supported by the fact that we've already done some stuff. And what have you done? You've done 100 days. You've done 103 days. Now you're doing 104 days. And so you have a rich history of having completed, a rich history of showing up, a rich history of saying, hey, I got this. This is my proof. This is kind of like you go into the bank to borrow some money and they ask you for collateral. This is your collateral for your self-efficacy. It's like, okay, you think you're efficacious? Show me. You think that you can do it? Show me. And you're like, okay, there it is right there, 100 days. Right? So let me say that. So data-based. It's not just your theory. It's not just your belief. It's not just some wishful thinking. It's not just a dream. It's actually black and white data, sometimes red data that you have that proves that, yeah, I can do this. So one of the things that we want to talk about as we continue talking about self-efficacy is that we often think that someone is, if they're capable of doing something, that they're comfortable. And that is actually far from the case. It actually sometimes can be backwards, because the more someone is willing to be uncomfortable, the more capable they can become. Think about the first time you tried anything, the first time you walked, the first time you spoke in public, the first time you led a group. If you're a manager, if you're a president, if you are someone who interfaces with the public, the first time you did anything, you probably were not comfortable. But the more you stayed in that discomfort, the more capable you became, because you got more experience and you got more self-confident and you became efficacious, right? So it certainly was not, was there comfort? No. Was there confidence? Probably not. Was there competence? Maybe. But the more you were in that space of being uncomfortable, the more you became better at your job, the more you learned, the more you did, the more you tried, the more you started seeing places where you could become more efficient. And that is a key to being successful, is that we've got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. We've gotten so used to things either working out the way we think they're going to work out, or often we become complacent. We become, oh, this I got this. All right, it's going to be good. So we don't push ourselves. We don't move beyond where we are. You've heard me say that the point of growth often is not once you've crossed over the line. It is at the point where you are about to get across that line, right at the point of the known and the unknown. Because in order for that to happen, in order for you to step across that line, you got to stretch. You got to believe in Not even this, because you don't know what's across that line. You've got to believe in you. You got to believe that you are capable of entering any space and figuring out what needs to be done to be successful. Remember that. And that is who we've built. That is the version of ourselves that we now have. Not someone who knows everything, but someone who knows how to find information, someone knows how to strategize, someone who knows how to organize, someone who knows how to schedule. That's what we've built. And so we're not expecting to step into every space and be the expert in that space, but we certainly know how to get the information and get it done. I gave the example of a lot of these big CEOs that they hire for companies. Those guys know nothing, well, I shouldn't say nothing. A lot of times, guys and gals, sometimes they don't know the intricacies of that business, but they're hired not because of their knowledge of that business. They're hired because of their knowledge of how to run things. And so they bring them in, they get the company turned around, and then that person moves off to something else, doing something else once they've done that. And now they're sought after, not because of their intricate knowledge of that thing, but because of their intricate knowledge of how to problem solve. And that is the idea behind confidence. It is that you can step into any space and that you can use the skills that you have, because who you're taking with you, you're taking the person that you've created. You can use the skills that you have to move in that direction and you can be successful. So self-confidence does not always mean that we're capable. It does not always mean that we're comfortable. But when you stretch, when you stretch, you are growing. And once again, you're providing more data. Oh, there's this loop I want to talk about. I'm not going to talk about it in this episode. Is that when we talked about the confidence loop, confident consistency loop, there's an efficacy loop that we'll talk about at some point. Because the more you do, the more you succeed at, the more comfortable you become, the more capable you become, the more efficacious you become, and that allows you to do even more. You see that? So it's just it's a perpetual cycle. As long as you are comfortable being uncomfortable, as long as you have self-efficacy, as long as you believe, as long as you're confident, you're going to try stuff that makes you uncomfortable. And the more you try stuff that makes you uncomfortable, the more you're going to succeed at stuff. The more you succeed at stuff, the more data you're providing for your self-efficacy. Boom, there it is. Okay, I said I wasn't going to talk about it, but there it is. Right? So you can do this. This is a part of what we do. This is a part of what we're building. This is a part of where we're going. So there are 3 zones I want to talk about. And the main one that I want to talk about is the growth zone, but we're going to talk about all 3. Number 1, there is the comfort zone. This is ease. Things come easily. Things are natural. You can do this in your sleep. You've been doing it. You found all the shortcuts. You have all the ways of doing it. You know how to do it so that you get it done in the shortest amount of time, and that it seems like you're doing a lot, right? And this is not that you are deceiving anybody, but this is just you. You roll like that, and things are very natural. It's easy, it's predictable, but there's no stretch. And if there's no stretch, I want you to listen to that comment right there. If there's no stretch, there's no growth. So as we move into our next series, that's going to come into play. If there's no stretch, y'all, if there's no push, if there's no strain, there's no growth. Oh, come on. Oh, okay, see. See, I'm tempted to jump into that because I've been working on that one. But it is amazing. It is amazing that we sometimes think that because it's comfortable, that's exactly where we need to stay, and that's not the case, right? So that's the comfort zone. Then there's the growth zone. This is uncomfortable. There's risk. There is stretch. There's learning. This is where self-efficacy grows. This is where we get data to support the stuff that we want. This is where we get the data to give to the inner coach. Remember we talked about creating our I Can book? Yeah, our I Can journal. Yeah, I can now. Why? Because I couldn't do it before. I couldn't do it yesterday, last week, last year, but I could do it now because I was stretched. And when I stretched, I grew. When there was discomfort, when I was comfortable being uncomfortable, then I allowed myself to be stretched. I allowed myself to think and do and try different things. And when I did that, now look at me. Yeah, it's better. I'm better. I feel better. I am more confident. That's the growth zone. And then there is the panic zone. We talked about the stress response, fight or flight or freeze. This is where we're overwhelmed. We're in survival mode. There's no capacity to believe and there's no capacity to build because we have cortisol on board. And cortisol, we've talked about cortisol as a stress hormone. We talked about cortisol as the hormone that goes to get high blood sugars to give our body energy. But what we've not talked about is that cortisol is the hormone that also blocks memory. Well, one of the hormones that blocks memory. So that when cortisol comes out, the memory goes away, our long-term memory. So that, think about this. So you're in a stressful situation, right? So you're anxious because maybe you're gonna go meet some people, you're gonna do a presentation, and somebody walks up and they say to you, hey, I'm Dwain, what's your name? And you're like, I'm gonna, what? Did you forget your name? How come? That's cortisol effect, right? So when we're stretched, our body, our mind doesn't have the capacity to grow at that point because we don't have the capacity to form that memory. We don't have the capacity to remember things. We don't have the capacity to make connections. And so that's why not only is chronic stress detrimental, not only is chronic stress detrimental to our, I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Ooh, yeah. So not only is chronic stress detrimental to our blood sugars and our blood pressure and so many other things, but it's also detrimental to our ability to grow and expand. And it's detrimental to our efficacy and ultimately to our success. So we want to spend our time in the growth zone. This is kind of like when you exercise, they say they want you to stay in zone 2 because that gives you the maximum capacity to grow. So we want you to spend most of your time in the growth zone. So that means that there are times when you're gonna feel comfortable, you're gonna like where you are, you don't wanna move, and you're gonna have to move. Not because there's something wrong with that, not because there's any detriment in that thing itself, but you're not growing. You're not stretching. You've got to find places, find things that you can do that expand you, that grow your mind. I love growing. I love learning. I love moving. I love my mind expanding. I think I told you a couple of episodes ago that I'm working on my thoughts. How do I think? Right? Thinking about thinking is something I heard someone say. Shout out to you, by the way, if you're watching. Right? So what we want to do is we want to be in that growth zone. That's the sweet spot. You're slightly uncomfortable, but still in motion. So you're not in the panic zone. We don't want to be in panic zone. When you keep choosing that space, you build a belief system. You give support for your inner coach. You give support for your I Can journal. You give support for your efficacy. Because remember, efficacy is evidence-based. It's not just a pie in the sky. It's not just you believing in yourself. It's not just you thinking that this can be done. It's not you dreaming about it. This is you looking back and say, wait a minute. Yeah, look at that. Look at the trail. Look at what I've done. That's where I came from because I've already done this. I've already proven that I can be efficacious. right? So you want to make sure that you're spending time in that growth zone. So what does stretch look like in real life, in a daily basis? What does that look like? Well, stretch doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to be dramatic. You are now doing 104 days. That's a stretch. Come on, come on, come on. Because you got comfortable. Because you were looking forward to 100 days. You're like, when we get to 100 days, I'm just going to hang out at the house. I don't have to get up this morning. But guess what? Here you are, 104. That's a stretch. Right? Speaking up when you usually stay quiet at an event. That's a stretch. You're usually the one that sits in the corner. You're the one that sits at the table and listens to everybody. You're usually the one that's laughing when everybody's talking. Okay, a stretch is to make a comment. Yeah, just find something. Find a comment, something in the conversation. And one of the things that I worked with my son to do early on, we went out to dinner. I trained in Memphis. And so we went back to Memphis. He was maybe 5 or 6. No, it had to be older than that. Wow, so long ago. But anyway, we went back to Memphis. And so we're sitting at the table, him, myself, and my wife, and we're waiting for the other people to come. And so we were talking, and he leaned over to me. He said, Daddy, he said, I don't know what to say. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, when people come, I don't know what to say. And I said, so we talked about a couple of things. And I said, just listen to the conversation and find something in the conversation that you're interested in and ask a question. And just be quiet after that. Let them talk. And then they'll say something that you find interesting, ask another question. And if you have a comment, you make a comment. And so we kind of talked through that. And so they came and they sat, and I was so proud of him. I'm trying to remember what age he was. But that's you. You're sitting at the table. You normally are quiet. You're normally quiet for various reasons. But stretch yourself. Say, hey, I'm going to make a tonight at this table, at this event, I'm going to make a comment. I'm going to talk to somebody. Don't just sit in the corner. A stretch would be committing to walking in the rain. You guys saw, was it yesterday or a couple of days ago? It was getting ready to rain. And I was like, man, I should have walked this morning. But I hadn't. And I'm like, okay, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And there I was, boom. Had to get out there in the rain. You guys remember when it snowed and it was ice? Hey, so a stretch may say, look, this is non-negotiable. I'm getting up and I'm going. I'm gonna be doing this. This is what I'm doing for my health, and working and moving and doing what you've got to do. That's a stretch. A stretch may be eating well on a stressful day. So normally you buffer. Normally you use food as your comfort. Use food to make you feel better. But you're gonna say, okay, this day I'm not gonna eat emotionally. Or this week I'm gonna find one time during the week if I'm stressed where I'm not gonna do that. Right? So that's a stretch. A stretch might be starting a project that you've been putting off. Now I've got a bunch of those, by the way. So I've got a lot of stuff I can be stretching myself with. But one of the projects, let's talk about me. So one of the projects was this series that we're on. So the stretch was we were going to end 100 days. And so I started thinking about myself, and I said, often when I join challenges, when I join groups, when I do stuff, they do it for 30 days, 40 days, 100 days. Well, I don't think anybody does it for 100 days, right? But they usually do it, and then I'm excited, and then at the end of it, there's no structure. I'm like, okay, what now? And so the series that's coming up was an attempt to stretch myself, to say, okay, what are we going to do? So you've got to find what is it that's going to stretch you. If you've been walking, I think I mentioned this several times in our last series, we do maybe a 20-minute mile. So maybe you're going to do a 15-minute mile. 20-minute mile, remember that's 3 miles in an hour. So if you do a 15-minute mile, that's 4 miles in an hour, right? And then maybe you do a 10-minute mile, I don't know. Whatever it is, what's gonna be your stretch? You've been drinking 2 glasses of water a day. Now let's stretch to drink 3. You've been working on your weight and you've gotten slack a little bit. And okay, I'm gonna tighten that up. What's the stretch? What is your stretch? I've been saving $100. Now I'm gonna save $110. What's your stretch? I've been writing a page in my book every month. Now I'm gonna write a page a week or whatever it is. What is gonna be your stretch? But stretch yourself beyond where you are. Each time that you step into that space that challenges you, each time you move across the line, each time you stand at the line and make the decision to move across and then move across, you are stretching yourself. You're saying my discomfort does not disqualify me. Just because I'm uncomfortable, just because I feel discomfort, that doesn't disqualify me from doing what I need to do to be successful in that space. And so every time you stand at that line, every time you step across the line, every time you do what you need to do, every time you show up, you're saying that that doesn't disqualify me. Just because I don't feel comfortable, that doesn't mean that, that I can't do that. One of the things that we taught my son early on is just because you're afraid doesn't mean you don't have to do it. Because he'd say to us, hey, Daddy, I'm afraid. I was like, okay. Well, not just okay, but it's like, yeah, man, I know it's scary, but we can still do this. We're gonna do this, right? So just because you're afraid doesn't mean you don't have to do it. And often, and just a plug for our ability to train kids is often we hear that and we say to the child, oh, okay, you don't have to do that. And that's not the lesson that we want to teach. The lesson we want to teach is that you're going to be afraid of a lot of things. And if every time you are afraid of something, you don't do it, that's going to be very detrimental to your overall success as you move through life. Now, there is an idea of caution, and certainly we can teach some of that. I think we teach it too much, but that's a whole nother conversation. It's kind of like, you know, that kid who is a young baby and now they're walking. We never stop that child from trying to walk. But at some point, we teach fear, right? The kid's walking and they're running to us, and we're like, and they fall, oh, right? We come running to the child. Well, guess what? We just taught a little bit of fear, a little bit of fear. And so we want to teach that, hey, comfort does not mean that's what you need to be doing. Comfort, actually, you need to be a little uncomfortable if we're going to stretch and if we're going to move and if we're going to improve. Because every time we do that, we're giving data to ourselves. Okay. And then, so comfort feels safe, but it's not always secure. Safe, but not secure. Just because you're comfortable doesn't mean that where you are is secure. Here's something wild. Comfort is often the biggest threat to your long-term growth. It feels safe, but it can slowly strip away your belief that you can do hard things. Because you don't have to stretch. You don't have to think about it. It just comes naturally. You don't have to problem solve. You don't have to figure it out. You don't have to change your schedule. You don't have to change how you behave. It just comes because you're comfortable. And that strips away your belief, and something now challenging comes, then you wonder, can I do that? Am I able? Do I have the skills to do that? It isn't about what feels good. It's about what builds good character, builds good behavior, builds your efficacy. Remember, we are always in the process of supporting our inner coach. Where am I playing small just to stay comfortable? Where are you playing small just so you can be comfortable? Maybe it's a job that you shouldn't be at. Maybe it's a career that you shouldn't be at. Maybe it's a health goal that you shouldn't be at. One of the things that we've been talking about coming up in the new series is this idea of stretch. In order for there to be growth, there has to be stretch. There has to be tension. In order for there to be change, we have to increase our capacity. In order for us to grow, we've got to be uncomfortable. Now, we're not talking about, dangerous uncomfortable, but we got to be uncomfortable if we're going to grow. But where am I playing small? Where am I playing small? So we want to reframe discomfort as proof of progress. We're going to reframe discomfort as proof of progress. Now, we'll talk about this once again in the next series, but we're talking about safe discomfort, right? So I want to flip the script on how we interpret discomfort. Discomfort isn't failure. Discomfort isn't weakness. Discomfort isn't proof that you're not ready. Discomfort is when the signal that you are, it's often a signal that you are in the exact space where growth is happening. The exact space where growth is happening. So when you started walking, right, the next day, your legs were achy. And if you thought the discomfort of that, I'm gonna turn around because they're about to mow. If you took that as the discomfort was an indication that I shouldn't walk, you would have stopped and you would have missed 100 days. If you're lifting, if you're trying to get toned, you're trying to get strong, you will be sore the next day. And if you stop, then the growth doesn't happen. So discomfort may be an indication that you're in the right space. One of the things that happens in our lives is we feel sometimes that stress response. Our heart rate goes up, our hands become clammy and sweaty. We start to feel a bit of the butterfly in our stomach. And we see that and we think, oh, I don't have to do this because that's fear. Do you know that the same response that you get for fear is the same response that happens when your body's anticipating something? Cortisol comes out because remember, it's something new, it's something different. And the body's simply saying, hey, I'm giving you what you need to do this thing that we're about to do. And we feel that and we think of that as fear. And I want you to reframe that, because that feeling may simply be your body saying, come on, I got you. I've already given you the energy. I've already given you the strength that you need. I've already given you the supplies. I've given you enough energy for you to get through this thing. And we feel that, and we sometimes stop, we shy away, we duck, we avoid, we move, we get rid of. And I want you to begin reframing that and saying, okay, what I'm feeling, yeah, this is just indication that I'm in the right space because I'm about to grow. Oh, listen to that. Listen to that. I'm about to grow. I'm getting ready to go across the line. I'm getting ready to expand. I'm getting ready to feel some tension, but I'm about to grow. And when I grow, I'm providing data. I'm writing another line in my I Can journal. I'm giving my coach, my inner coach, another piece of information. I'm extending the path behind me so that when I look back, that path is getting longer and longer and longer, indicating the things that I've done now, that I can look back that is objective, that I can do this, that I've done this, been there, done that, doing it now, doing it tomorrow and the day after and the day after and the day after that. You are literally rewiring your brain to associate challenge, neuroplasticity, with success, not with threat. You're saying to your brain, no, when you see this, when you feel that, let's do it. I know you got me. I got you. Let's create another piece of data. That's the way I want you to be thinking about the discomfort that you sometimes will feel as you are thinking about doing something different, or you think about doing something new as you find yourself in a space for growth. So I want you to think about a couple of questions. You ready? Number one, where have you been avoiding stretching because it's uncomfortable? I want you to think back. Think about today. Think about yesterday. Think about this last week. Where has it been that something that you avoided was because it was uncomfortable? What would happen if you move forward anyway? Just because you're afraid doesn't mean you don't have to do it, right? That's what I told my son. What would happen if you move forward despite the discomfort? What one area of your life needs more stretching and less safety? Booyah! Less safety and more stretch. And what belief would you build if you took the step this week? What line would you now be able to put in your I Can journal? What new piece of information, piece of data would you be giving your coach? What new milestone, mile marker would you be adding to your map of the past and the successes that you've had? What would happen if you did that? What area would that be? So your stretch challenge is this. Number one, remember, get your journal, right? Pick one action that stretches you. And we're going to be doing stretching coming up, by the way. All right? What one action can you do that stretches you? Not something that breaks you, not something that puts you in panic, but just something that pushes you, nudges you forward, nudges you in a different direction. Say something that makes you nervous. Right? Commit to something you've been delaying. Change a pattern that keeps you small. And once you do that, say out loud, I can be uncomfortable and still show up. I can stretch and still be strong. I grow in the challenge. I'm built for the stretch. Yeah. So I grow in the challenge. I can stretch and still be strong. That's your challenge for today. Oh, man. Self-efficacy, once again, is the belief that is the evidence-based belief that I can do things and I can make changes based on my decisions, based on my actions, and based on my consistency. Self-efficacy isn't about what's easy. It's about what is possible when you stretch. You've already proven that you can move when it's needed. Now, let's stretch with intention. Let's stretch for success. Let's stretch for mastery. Let's stretch for growth. This is Dr. Dwain Woode. Glad that you are here with me. We're coming back again. We educate, we empower, and we encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, go to the next level. Limitless living says that we're not allowing anything from inside, anything from outside to prevent us from doing what we need to do to be successful. We're presenting our best self, our best health, and our best plans for our life. I'll see you tomorrow on day number 105. I'll see you on the walk. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. And as we approach the end of our 100-day walk to consistency and health, I want to pause and invite you to look ahead. Because what we've built together is just the beginning of an even more powerful journey. Over the past 100 days, you've developed a habit. You've developed resistance, resilience. You've developed strength, and things that form the cornerstone of your success. Now, as we close this chapter, I'm excited to share that our next series is on the horizon that's going to build on everything that you've learned so far. In the upcoming series, we want to dive deeper into advanced strategies that harness your newly cultivated strengths, refine your mindset, and elevate your strategic thinking. Imagine transforming daily consistency into an unstoppable force that propels you to tackle even greater challenges with confidence. My vision for the next phase is simple: to empower you not only to sustain your current success, but to channel it into innovative strategies that drive you past these impacts that you've had to more lasting, more fulfilling impacts. We've explored how to leverage your inner strength and channel it into areas of leadership, creativity, and advanced personal growth. And we're going to go further. The habits you formed are the foundation on which you can build a life of limitless potential. Every lesson, every win, every setback during the past 100 days has prepared you for what's next. Think of today as a bridge where the consistency and the discipline that you've mastered become a stepping stone towards a future when strategy meets mindset. In the next series, it's designed to help you integrate these principles to every aspect of your life, making your progress both sustainable and exponential. I invite you to stay tuned and actively participate as we embark on this new chapter. Reflect on your journey so far and consider the way that you can take these lessons to the next level. Let's step into the future together. Thank you for being part of this transformative journey. Your growth, resilience, and commitment are what this community needs. Get ready to embrace the next series, where your strengths, strategy, and mindset will propel you to even greater heights. Stay tuned, and I'll see you as we begin this exciting new chapter together.